the left, right, midpoint, or trapezoidal rule, you know, it really boils down to the area of some rectangles or the area of some trapezoids and adding them together. But it does get a little bit messy in here. So it also says we need 4 of these guys. So if you know what this looks like, 1 over x looks like this. And then the -1 would shift the whole thing right 1. So this function looks roughly like this. But you're interested from 3 to 5 anyway. So it's going to be like this little part here. And now you don't have to have a picture to move forward, but I think it certainly helps you see like where the parts are coming from. But even if I don't know what that looks like, let's say, you know, I think it looks something like this, which of course it doesn't. I'm still kind of focused in on this. So I think what you should do is just give yourself a nice big picture. Here's 3, here's 5. It doesn't look anything like the function, it's exaggerated, but I'm going to be able to see my rectangles for this if I do it this way. Okay, so if I do 4 rectangles from 3 to 5, what's the width of each rectangle going to be?
1/2.
Okay, so this guy has a width of 1/2, and then this guy has a width of 1/2. This one is also a 1/2, and this one's also a 1/2. Okay, so then you can see them, and so if you were wrong about the 1/2, it's going to be pretty obvious because they're not all, they wouldn't all be the same. It wouldn't fit between 3 and 5. So again, that's where I think a picture helps, even if it's a not accurate picture like this one. Now, for left Riemann sums, you need to take the leftmost x value. So take the leftmost x value and drag it to the right. The leftmost x value, drag it to the right. Left x most, left x most value. So that did almost nothing for my picture, but it's going to help us think about where these values are coming from. So 4 rectangles, and how do we find the area of a rectangle? Okay, and we already, long time ago, figured out that the width is a 1/2. So that's the easy part. But the length, well, it depends where it hits the function, and it depends on if it's a left Riemann sum, a right Riemann sum, or a midpoint. But this red one, his length is going to be equal to the y value when x is 3. That's where I think the picture helps. It gives you a visual. I want this y value, which is the y value when x is 3, or the same thing as f of 3. So I guess I'll just do f of 3 the first time. The purple one, his length is the y value when x is 3.5, or 7/2, if you don't want to deal with decimals. Okay, what about this black one? What would his length come from? 4? It's just 4? F of 4. The y value when x is 4. And then finally, this gray one, his length is this y value, which is the y value when x is 4.5, or 9/2. Now, just to be upfront, on the AP exam, usually when they have you do this, these are usually table questions so that you can find these values quickly. Like the numbers are just up in the table somewhere. But for us, we have to actually calculate these. So f of 3 means you go to the function, plug in 3. So this would be 1/2. You okay with y it's 1/2? Okay. Over here, if we plugged in 7/2 up here, 7/2 minus 1 would be 5/2, and 1 divided by 5/2 would be 2/5. You're okay with that arithmetic?
Yeah.
Okay, then rectangle 3, width times length, f of 4, plug 4 into the function, you would get 1/3. And then finally, the last one, the gray one, this length comes from f of 4.5, or 9/2. If you were to plug in 9/2 here, 9/2 minus 1 would be 7/2. And what is 1/7/2? 2/7. 1 divided by anything just takes its reciprocal, because you're multiplying, you're dividing fractions. So keep, change, flip. Keep the first part, the 1, change the sign to multiply, and then flip, do the reciprocal of the second part. Okay, and then, so if this was a calculator question, this is pretty much the first time the calculator is going to be helpful. You could throw all this in, let it deal with the fraction work for you. I don't know. I've gone this far, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and finish it by hand. But notice there's kind of some neat patterns in here. 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, 1/7. Okay, I don't know. I lied. I could get a common denominator and all that, but I'll assume that you guys can do that if you had to, but that would be kind of a waste of time. So as a decimal, if a decimal's fine, you could throw it in the calculator and end up with this. Or do math, enter, and then change that to a fraction if you needed an exact answer. So again, the reason why they often make these in tables, because this is kind of a longer question, but at its core, you really just find in the area of 4 rectangles. The width of each rectangle is equal, so that's quick, but the length of each one, you gotta actually calculate that and what it would be. Is that enough for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else that was going to ask about 18A? Want to say something while the work's up?